AITA for telling my BIL it's cringe to continue saying he's child-free whenever I ask him to watch my son. The parents of our 4-year-old boy are my wife, 27, and myself, 27. We've had a very busy work schedule for the last 2 years, and our family has done an amazing job of aiding us with our son. My in-laws' relatives usually look after our child when my husband and I have to travel for work or work a shift away from home. Every member of my wife's family, from her mother to her sister to her father, was there with the exception of my 31-year-old brother-in-law, wife's brother. He's made it clear that he just does not want to spend time with his nephew, citing that he is childless as an explanation for his disinterest. We have requested him to watch our child for several situations, and he has refused to budge or express regret for his actions, and he has failed to accept responsibility for his actions. A few days ago, I had an important business meeting while my wife was out of town and my in-laws were at a wedding, which left me with no one else except my brother-in-law to look after my child. I went to his home and told him I was desperate for help and that I needed him to babysit my child for 2 hours. He agreed to do so. He was adamant in his refusal, even proposing that I bring him to work with me, which was a dumb idea. I pleaded with him, but he just answered with a no. I'd had enough and approached him, inquiring as to why he'd done it. What prompted me to lose my cool was if he disliked his nephew, and he used the no, "it's only because I'm childless" argument, which I saw as a personal insult. To stop saying this and using it as a reason to be unsupportive of me and his sister, as well as aloof towards his nephew, I counseled him. In response to my suggestion that he should do better and stop being so negative, he got upset and said that I had no right to criticize his lifestyle or choices, and that it was his attitude that bothered me. In our verbal fight, in which he said that my child is in no way his responsibility, I walked out of the room. He complained to my in-laws, who called me out for insulting and mistreating their son and subsequently fired me from the family. They emphasized that he is not responsible for my kid and that I should refrain from expecting too much from him and then blaming him for the consequences. Although they went for me to apologize and my wife agreed that I should, I chose to wait since my husband was as helpful and supportive as a rock throughout the process. AITA. Story 2. AITA for refusing to return my late wife's ring to the family. A year ago, I, female 30, married my wife, female 36. We had been dating for 6 years and married for 1 when she died. It's been a difficult period for me, and I'm still battling, but I'm getting there day by day. My wife was close to her grandmother as a child, and when she died, her grandma handed her a lovely ring that had been passed down through the family for centuries. This ring was used by my wife to propose to me, and it later became my wedding ring. I've worn it every day since she gave it to me, and it's honestly my most treasured possession from her. It seems like she is always with me, and when I look at it, it brings joy to my heart to recall our time together. My wife even spent money on the ring to have it repaired, since it had a few aesthetic flaws, but doing so more than quadrupled the value. It's one of a kind formed like a snake with a diamond in its head and rubies for eyes. The diamond was fractured, and the blue enamel needed to be repaired, which she did before proposing. My BAL has now decided to propose to his girlfriend, and he wants to use the snake ring because their grandmother wanted the ring to be used as an engagement ring for when one of her grandchildren wanted to marry. A first-come, first-served situation, although it was never really expected her granddaughter would be doing the proposing. It was always assumed the boys would offer it to their GFS, but my wife got there first and did it first, and that was that. It was never really questioned since my wife and her were so close. Nobody objected at the time, since the ring was still in the family and neither of my BAL were on the verge of getting engaged. I refused to return the ring, and as a result, I have created a major schism with my in-laws. My MIL and BAL are all calling me an because they want the ring to remain in their family and be handed down through the generations as it was intended. I'm devastated. My wife and I were not great emotional gift givers, and this was the one item she was actually pleased to present me. It was a tremendous deal for us and meant everything to both of us. My in-laws have also told me that my grandmother would not have wanted me to have it since she was Russian and would strongly oppose the same relationship. This truly stings and seems like a low blow since, although it's true, I was embraced by my in-laws. My grandma had died a long time before I met my wife. They now believe it should belong to the sons, as Mom planned. It's all become extremely bad, and I'm at a loss on what to do. The family has even offered to purchase the ring from me for the entire cost of the repairs, but I refuse. It's the last thing I have left of my wife, and losing it feels like losing the last piece of my shattered heart. AITA, edit. Oh, no. I wasn't anticipating such a large reaction, and I wanted to thank everyone for their responses. I'm working my way through them. Based on some of your remarks, I just wanted to provide you with a little additional information. No, my wife and I did not have children. Grandma would never have approved of the relationship. She was, dare we say, traditional. There have been many suggestions about leaving the ring in my will, which I believe is a fantastic idea. I hadn't been able to think straight since this all transpired since I was overcome with anguish after being questioned. I'm going to talk to MIL and BIL as soon as possible to see if I can leave the ring to BIL future children in my will. I don't want to separate the family from the ring, but I also don't want to part with it in my lifetime, so I'm hopeful this can be sorted. I'll publish an update after I've talked with everyone. Those who have suggested that I give it up if I'm married. I couldn't possibly respond to your query at this time. My anguish is blinding. In this world, it seems difficult to think of loving anybody else. Update. It's been a while, and I thought now would be a good time to get you current on my position. My SIL and I have discussed the ring since my previous post. She was my go-to person for mediation, and we were always excellent friends. She agreed right away that I should retain the ring. We met to talk about things, and without the strain of the rest of the family breathing down my neck, we were able to talk about the ring and its future. I informed her about my Reddit post and the advice I had received, and that I would be delighted to leave the ring in my will to the family's first niece or nephew. As a result, it will ultimately be returned to the family. I informed my SIL that if I remarry and feel I am able to part with it, it may be sooner, but I didn't want it in writing. I said that I am willing to draft mentioned contracts/wills and applicable documents for this agreement prior to my departure. SIL agreed wholeheartedly to the proposition, and after the business half of the conversation was through, she informed me what ignited this raging inferno. FIL never got along with my late wife, and particularly not with me. The ring is from his family. He had a highly selfish personality, and although he loathed his mother, he resented the idea that something valuable, which he considered his legacy, had been taken away from him. In addition, he is openly homophobic. He despised my late wife for it, and when he found out what his mother's desires for the ring were, he supposedly went insane, despite the fact that he is an only child and got a tiny wealth from her. After my wife died, he saw it as a chance to reclaim the ring and push the family to get it back no matter what. SIL said that BIL doesn't even want it for his fiancée, but they are all afraid of FIL, and he would make MIL life horrible. SIL expressed her delight that I am returning home to be with my family. We shed many tears together, and it felt so nice to chat about my wife with her. Fortunately, and hopefully for all of us, SIL first kid with her husband won't be too far away, since they've just recently begun trying. After the appropriate information had been given to the family, SIL and I spoke again on the phone. Apparently, FIL is still enraged, but she saw relief on the faces of her BIL and MIL. FIL apparently went insane when she informed him I'm going back home, assuming the ring would be lost forever, despite the fact that the papers and everything are all in order. I'd want to conclude by thanking everyone for their nice sentiments, particularly in light of my wife's death. She would have been so moved to see so many lovely and supporting individuals out there. It's been a really sad moment for me, but knowing that there are decent individuals out there gives me a lot of hope.